Welcome back, everyone. Today we are making the best apple turnovers just in time for fall to start. Here's a pic of our ingredients, but make sure you check the description box for details. Also, please note that this recipe requires puff pastry, so if you like, you can buy some, or I have a really quick and simple recipe that you can follow to home make it. Just check the link above or in the description box. Here I have 3 fresh Granny Smith apples, and I'm going to thoroughly wash them and clean them off. Take one of your apples and using a potato peeler, start to peel the skin off of all 3 apples. Truly, you can use any type of apple, but I find that Granny Smith is the best for flavor pairing with the perfect combo of sweet and tartness it provides. It's perfectly fine if your apple has a few brown spots or a bit of skin left on it. Once you're done, place your peel scraps to the side, or you can add them to a compost pile. Alright, now use a sharp knife to cut your apples in half and core them, then dice them to your desired size. I prefer a mix of large chunks and small pieces, but if they're too big for your liking, just give them a once over with the knife and then they should be good to go. Here I'm going to show you again how I cut and core my apples as well as dice them. I know this looks like a lot of apple pieces, but don't worry, they're going to shrink quite a bit when we cook them. Also, don't be alarmed if your apple pieces start to change color. Apples are known to brown quickly, but they'll be fine. No need to sprinkle with lemon or anything of that matter. Once you're done chopping, set them to the side for a bit. So here I have a medium saucepan and I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of butter to it. Place the saucepan over medium heat and begin to let the butter melt. Also, start to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. At this time, I'm going to line a cookie sheet with some parchment paper. Using parchment paper is optional, but I find that it aids in quick cleanup as well as keeps the turnovers from sticking to the cookie sheet. Alright, checking back in on our butter, it's melted down, so go ahead and carefully add your apple pieces to the saucepan. Use a spatula to mix the apples until they are all completely saturated in the butter, then let them cook down for about 5 minutes. During this time, prep and measure out a packed 1 cup of brown sugar. After 5 minutes, give the apples a good stir with your spatula, then add in the 1 cup of sugar. Break down and stir in the sugar until you can see that it's completely dissolved into the butter and apples. This step is optional as well, but I'm going to measure out 1 tablespoon of cinnamon and add it to the mixture as well. If 1 tablespoon feels like a lot, feel free to do 1 teaspoon and just gradually add each time you make the recipe. But I love a lot of cinnamon in my fall desserts. Again, give the apple mixture a very good stir until everything is dissolved in, and resume cooking for an additional 5 minutes or until the apples have become soft and reduced in size. In the meantime, we are going to prep a cutting board by giving it a light flour. Here I have my homemade puff pastry dough, and I'm going to lightly flour it, then let it sit out for about 10 minutes to slightly come to room temp. You don't want it all the way room temp, or else it'll be hard to work with and the dough could potentially rip. Please see the link above or check the description box for details on the homemade recipe. If you have frozen puff pastry dough, then please follow the box instructions on how to thaw and prepare it. After 5 minutes, my apple mixture is done, and I'm going to use a spider to transfer them to a bowl so they can cool completely down. Note how I'm making sure the excess liquid is drained off before transferring to the bowl. The apples hold quite a bit of liquid in themselves, and you don't want that extra moisture soaking up into your puff pastry dough and making it a soupy mess. While the apple cool, we're going to work on our puff pastry dough. Lightly flour a rolling pin and gently roll out your dough into a medium-sized square. This will make about 4 turnovers. For extra turnovers, you could roll the dough out more and potentially get up to 6 or 8 depending on the size you cut. For frozen puff pastry users, follow the box instructions on how to roll it out and use it. Use a pizza cutter to cut the dough into your desired amount of squares, then separate them and place to the side. Take one of the squares and lightly roll it out, being a bit careful not to go too thin or the dough will tear. Alright, here's my apple mixture. Now go ahead and add a heaping scoop of it to one side of the square. There's really no certain amount you have to use, but I like mine really full and loaded, so be careful not to put too much or the dough will be hard to close. Now fold the other side of the dough over the apple mixture and pinch the seams together. It's also helpful to use a fork to assist in closing and seal the seams. There will be a bit of liquid that seeps through, but that's okay. Don't be alarmed as long as it's not a whole lot. If any rips do occur in your dough while trying to assemble the turnover, just pinch it closed as well as you can. Here I have my parchment lined cookie sheet and I'm going to place the finished turnover on it and set it to the side to continue with the rest. Alright, so same as before, roll out your square of puff pastry dough a bit and then fill it with a generous amount of the apple mixture. Fold the other half of the dough over the apple mixture, then pinch your seams closed and follow up with a fork to create a seal. There you pretty much have it, your apple turnover. Then go ahead and place it on a cookie sheet as well. Now go ahead and crack 1 egg into a small bowl and add 1 tablespoon of water to it. Mix the egg and water together until well combined. Using a sharp knife, slice 2 to 3 slots into the top of your turnovers. This will allow them to vent and release air while baking. Once you're done with that, take your egg mixture and using a pastry brush, brush the turnovers with the egg, ensuring that all sides, creases, and crevices are covered entirely. This egg wash will give the turnovers a beautiful golden brown crust to the outside. This step is optional, but because these turnovers are not super sweet, I'm going to add a bit of cane sugar to the tops of each turnover. When you're done with that, go ahead and place your cookie sheet in the fridge for 20 to 30 minutes. This will help firm and stiffen up your dough so that it's easier to bake and also keeps the apple liquid from leaking through as well. Here's a quick look before baking. Place in your oven and bake at 400 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes or until golden brown on top. While those bake, let's make a simple glaze, but this is also optional. To start off, take half a cup of powdered sugar and add it to a bowl. Add in a splash of milk and stir until the powdered sugar is completely dissolved. From this point, continue alternating between powdered sugar and milk until you get the consistency and look that you want. Just make sure that you're stirring really well to make sure that the powdered sugar gets thoroughly and dissolved. And this is how mine turned out. Alright, our turnovers are finished baking and look how golden brown and thick they are. Let them cool for about 5 minutes, then plate and serve. They are best eaten while still hot, so go ahead and give them a drizzle of glaze and enjoy. If you like this recipe, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next video.